What's up, class? Finally back at you with a new video for the No Mod Chop class here on the Skooled Zone. This is the collab video I promised last time, but I still had a few kinks to work out before it was ready to post. Well, I solved the kinks, and I'll also explain why I was having so much trouble with another part of it because of a building glitch, and not the good kind that we use to help us build things. In fact, I'll just show you a quick clip of it so I can just refer to the glitch later and not have to wait for it to cycle through. Okay, so this is part of a ball track that I built for what we're doing today, and you're going to see right in front of me, there's an invisible steel ball. You can't pick it up, you can only store it or scrap it. So it turns out that happens when the steel ball passes through the conveyor lifts from the manufacturing section. So it's still there, and it's still going to perform its intended function that you'll see in a moment. But now you know why I was thrown for a loop for a while. Thank goodness I remembered, the scientific problem solving, reverse engineering, and the process of elimination from my school days. Otherwise, I would have gone for a lot longer thinking I was doing something wrong and eventually rage quit. Anyway, remember that image so you know what I'm talking about later in the video when I refer to the invisible steel ball. Okay, back to what I was saying. So this is a collab video featuring the insane Shecklador. In case you don't know who he is, he's an OG Fallout builder. He's got his own channel of tips and tricks, and he's a frequent commenter on many build videos out there. He's been a really positive force in the Fallout 4 community. So I messaged him once in a blue moon to brainstorm on something technical. Well, I recently had the urge to try and create a motion sensor automatic door for a build, like the ones they have at the grocery store. But one that would stay open long enough for you to comfortably walk through it and then close behind you after a few seconds, right? Since, the pressure plate cuts the power immediately after stepping off of it, so you can't just use the pressure plate alone. So I asked him if he had any ideas. He said he would get back to me with some ideas. Well, he didn't just come back to me with ideas, he actually came back to me with a working device. And what's cool is that his idea is actually completely different from how I thought it could be built. So I said, shoot, man, I'll just feature both ideas in a collab video and the viewers will have multiple options, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my idea first, then Sheck's. Now bear in mind, this is going to be a bit of a complex video, okay? I post these once in a while since we are technically in the double black diamond section of the class. So, eat a protein bar and drink some coffee before you watch the rest of this. You'll have that brain firing on all cylinders. I wish there was an easier way to do this, but the cool thing is it actually can be done. I mean, the Fallout building system just continues to surprise me, I mean, if you have the time, patience, and determination, almost anything can be built in the game. But before we get to all that, let's take a quick peek at this month's Wall of Fame. As you've seen by now, I feature the names of my amazing Patreon supporters each month on this here Wall of Fame, and here is the Student Council this month. Thank you guys so much for your generosity and support for the channel. I'll leave a link in the description below and the iCard above if anyone else wants to become a member of the Student Council. There's some fantastic perks in addition to seeing your name on the Wall of Fame. And if you don't want to leave YouTube and take the time to set up a Patreon account, there's also a join button down below where you can become a member, or a super thanks button if you appreciate this video and want to make a one-time donation. Anyway, let's get to it. Alright, so here we are in my sanctuary build, and I decided that I wanted the doors to my up-and-coming bar and lounge to open automatically as you approach, right? So I started by installing the powered pocket doors. By the way, that's the term for doors that recede into walls, when opened, pocket doors. Anyway, the powered doors have a different height than the barn walls. So to correct for the height and not have the gap above the door, I had to temporarily remove the upper deck floor tile. You probably saw this back when I did the glass railing video. And then snap a double wooden tile to the top of the door, and then pillar glitch the door and the ceiling tile together back into place. Then snap the upper deck floor tile back on top of it. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right. So this snapped right into the concrete door frame. So that was perfect. The only thing that didn't snap was this back into the place where the original door was. So that's where I pillar glitched it into place. And then the same tile as this right here snapped right over on top of it. So when you're on the top deck, it looks exactly the same as before, and you could barely notice the difference. Otherwise, we would have had that little gap right in that corner there. Okay. So anyway, let me show you the end result here, and then I'll show you the nuts and bolts, and then I'll show you the cleaned up version at the end. Okay. So you're going to see a lot of wires and all this stuff. I'll explain everything. Right now, it's looking like a Rube Goldberg machine or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up here and I'm going to install the steel ball. Okay, I wanted to do this with you on camera because once it passes through this elevator lift, it's going to turn invisible and you won't be able to see it. Okay, so let's go into the manufacturing section. I think that's in power. Yep. Oh, no. I'm sorry. We're in the ball track section. So that's going to be under structures. Okay. Ball track, miscellaneous, and here's the steel ball. Okay. As soon as I find it turning blue, then I can just place it. All right. And it's going to roll down and stop at the gate. Okay. So watch this. Okay. So that's the first gate. And that power switch right there is powered by the pressure plate. Okay, so when I step on the pressure plate, it's going to release that ball track switch. It's going to roll through this switch, turn it green, head the power over to this delayed off switch, which is going to run the power right through to the power door, open it, but it won't close again until the amount of seconds that I've programmed into this delayed off switch hits, which is about 5 seconds or so. And then it will close, okay? Then, to get this, unfortunately, it doesn't go back to red on its own. So, it's gonna stay green until another trackball passes through. This is the part that stuck me for a couple of weeks. And then, of course, a couple of weeks after that, trying to figure out where the ball went. And that's why this video was delayed so long. So, my apologies for that. Anyway, once the power hits this the first time, it's going to head up there to that alternating track switch. And let me show you up here what that looks like. So it's this switch right here, and this little green part, metallic green part, is going to flip over to this side and let the ball track run down this side. Then it's going to power this switch right here. And actually it's... Okay, no, actually, here's the deal with this one, okay, that I'm pointing at with the reticle there. So the ball track has some really weird lengths and height angles to it, okay? I couldn't find a plain track that was the same length as this one that was just a plain track, all right, the same height and the same angle. So I put this one in there just to fill in the gap, and I plugged it into the power so it would stay open. So this isn't doing anything but just being a piece of the track that's going to connect and snap into place, all right? All these workarounds, I know. And then it's going to converge again on this single track switch, turn it back to red again, and then cycle all the way back through, probably invisible, after it passes through this switch. By the way, this is going to revert back. This switch is going to revert back to the right side, and then when the steel ball comes back through, it's going to stop at this switch right here, which is now the gate has risen back into place. So hopefully that all makes sense. All right, I'll go through all the pieces again once you see how it looks. All right, but here's the end result here. Okay, so you can see the powered doors, the powered pocket doors over there. All right, I'm going to step on this and then just step right off again. Okay, so check it out. Step off and it stays open, and then it closes after about 5 seconds. So that is awesome. That is I mean, it's crazy we had to go through all this to make that happen, but that's the deal, okay? Now, obviously, this pressure plate is going to be placed right in front of this door. It's probably going to be placed probably about right here. And once all this is cleaned up, I'm actually going to bury the pressure plate in the ground, so you won't actually even see it. You'll just walk up to the door, and by the time, you know, if you're here, I'll make some guide rails, you know, to lead people in the right direction. And once they step on it, by the time that you get to here, it'll open. And then once you're comfortably have walked through into the sports bar, then it will close behind. All right. And then I'm not even going to use this generator. I just wanted to use this to show you all the pieces with everything wired up. Okay. I'm eventually going to use my main power super mega, whatever it's called. What's it called here? No, didn't want that. Yeah, Voltec super reactor. Okay, so this has enough power to power everything. And I'm just going to Wi-Fi glitch this over to a relay switch or something, a conductor, something like that. And then I can use that to Wi-Fi glitch everything else. And I'll hide this whole contraption probably behind the bar. But let's take a closer look at this from this angle so you can see how to wire this up on your own, okay? Again, sorry, complex video, warned you. Okay, so we start off with the generator. The generator is powering 4 items, okay? It's powering the pressure plate, because it has to, okay? It's powering this switch right here so that it can conduct the power up to that alternating track switch and switch it over into the other lane so the invisible ball track will pass through. Oh, by the way, did you notice it's back to red? All right, so let's take a quick peek and I'll show you what I mean. I'm very doubtful that ball will be visible. Oh, it's visible. So it only happens sometimes. That's good news. Okay, well, there's the steel ball. So I guess I hit a route of bad luck because every time I did it before, it had turned invisible and it was throwing me for the biggest loop. I was like, when you know everything is right and you double check your work and somehow it still doesn't work out, then there's got to be something else wrong. And it turned out to be that glitch. But I was determined. I wanted to publish this video next, so I appreciate your patience. So the third place that this generator is wired to is this switch right here. What is it called? Let me take a look here. It's the ball track powered drop switch, okay? And this little gate right here is open and it's down underneath the ball track because it is being powered. All right, it's serving no other purpose than to fill in the gaps, because let me show you what I'm talking about, why I had to go that route. The ball tracks don't have a angle that is the same angle as this angle at this very small length. All right, you go all through these, it says low supported, medium supported, high supported, and they just didn't give you enough options here. So that's what I had to do to basically get this ball track to continue on down. And the only reason it's being powered is just to keep it open. So that's not serving any other function. And then the final wire from the generator is going up to the manufacturing elevator lift to power everything. All right, see right there where the reticle is? That's the conductor switch, or the conduit switch, I should say. And everything that's connected to it will be powered. Okay, so I only have to hook it up in one place as long as the rest of these things snap into place. Okay, so this down here is being powered, and you can always tell if it's actually receiving power because you'll see the animation of that. I don't know what it is. It's going in the wrong direction, but it's like a vacuum pump or something. Anyway, the the steel ball will fly into this power lift, this elevator lift, head out to here, up to here, and then over to here. And the reason I needed to use 2 of these like this was to get the height that I needed because of the length of these tracks and the way that, they had to be spread out. I tried shortening the distance with the curved tracks, but it was taking too much brain power. And so you could probably find a way to reduce the amount of conveyor track here if you really wanted to, so that there's not quite as much of a delay for it to reset. But that's not that big of a deal. So before it gets too dark, let me finish this up. I'll turn on the light here. And once the steel ball passes through both elevator lifts, it's going to run along this conveyor belt, drop into this little funnel, and then depending on which side is active, whether we've triggered the pressure plate or not, then it's going to fall down onto one of these 2 tracks. Okay, so if it's ready to reset, it's going to fall to the right side, And the reason I chose the right side is because that's the default setting for this alternating track. Let me find the name of it for you here. The ball track split. So it's a powered split there. And I originally had it on the other side, but I couldn't get it to switch over without, having it get a burst of power. So in its off state, it's going to divert to the right side if you're facing it, and which is fine. So once that passes through, then it's going to hit that switch right there, activate the door, and we're all set. Okay, so let's step on it one more time just so we can see what's going on here. I'm on it. I'm off of it. And it's going to open. Boom. I don't even need to stay on it. You could just step on it, step off of it, and it'll take care of it for you. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the cleaned up version. And if you have any questions about this setup here, either rewind the video or just feel free to ask me down in the comment section, because it is complicated, In fact, I'll kind of explain. So you might think the automatic door was invented in the 20th century. The first electric automatic door was invented in the 20th century, but not the first automatic door in history. That honor belongs to ancient Egypt with a man named Hero of Alexandria. He was a Greek inventor that lived and worked in Roman-occupied Egypt. He was the first to invent an automatic door that operated using a complicated series of mechanisms involving steam power instead of electricity. He invented a mechanism called the Heliopile, also called Hero's engine, that boils water and releases the pressurized steam through nozzles that cause a center container to spin rapidly like a turbine. He then used the spinning motion with an axle and pulley system to raise doors on a large temple. What's cool about that idea and how it relates to this is that he had to use a series of unrelated mechanisms to achieve the end result. So when we create necessary workarounds in Fallout 4 to achieve an unrelated result like this, we're thinking a lot like Hero of Alexandria did in ancient times. And as another ancient saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. All right, let's take a look at the cleaned up version, which will put everything into perspective. Okay, here we have the cleaned up version, looking pretty nice. We even have a little motion sensor camera up there. Isn't that pretty cool? All right, so before I get into all the details of this, I wanted to let you know that cleaning this up was not an easy task, all right? You're going to have to put in a little bit of work if you want it to look nice. Part of the reason is because there's going to be a lot of wire glitching, maybe even Wi-Fi glitching if you can manage it. But I did notice a couple of more glitches that I ran into, which added to the time that it took to complete this video. And I thought I'd share them with you real quick, not just as an excuse for the delay, but to help you guys out. First of all, I've never run into this before, but it appears that sometimes the pressure plate will get stuck in the on position. Now, I don't know if this is because of the Wi-Fi glitch or if it's because of having the pressure plate hooked up to too many items or whatever. I've never seen this happen before, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a clip real quick of where I ran into this. And this is after I ended up burying the pressure plates. I ran into this glitch and it took me forever to figure out what was going on. And once again, wasn't my fault. I was doing everything right, but I ran into this glitch, okay? So as you can see here, the pressure plate has a little green light on it, which means it's currently being activated. Now, normally the pressure plate only turns green when you step on it. It's not supposed to be stuck in the on position. All right. So this is the glitch that I ran into. This is my test rig here, but I ran into it again once I buried the pressure plate. So I don't know if it has to do with the Wi-Fi glitch. It may be because, I'm running really high on my settlement size. Let me open up the menu here to show you real quick. All right. That yellow bar over there on the far right has been reset probably at least 4 times now. I don't know how much more I can build here in Sanctuary before I start running into some frame rate issues and crashing and stuff, but that may be part of the problem. I don't know. I've never run into it before. It's super annoying. As you can see, it's supposed to reset once you activate it or step on it from red to green and back to red again. So that was the problem, and that ended up causing this switch over here to remain, this one where the reticle is, to remain in the downward position. And the ball just kept cycling through and wouldn't ever stop like it is now where it's supposed to be. So if you run into that glitch, all you have to do is just step on the pressure plate, step off again, and hopefully it'll reset itself. All right. But that is one problem that I did run into with the pressure plate, okay, which contributed to, once again, to the delay. The second glitch that I ran into, it's not really a glitch, but I'm not entirely positive that the Wi-Fi glitch can be chained from Wi-Fi glitch to Wi-Fi glitch. So I know that the Wi-Fi glitch can be chained from the Wi-Fi glitch to the regular wire glitch. So that's what I had to do with these pressure plates here. And that's the reason why I have these little walls and the plant set up, even though I was going to do that anyway. They're sort of covering up a conduit. You can barely see the conduit sticking out there. And what I had to do was I had to hook the Wi-Fi glitched pressure plates to a conduit and then just do the regular wire glitch underneath this sports bar here to the power at the back. All right, which I'll show you in just a moment. But I ended up making it look pretty nice, you know. So that was another thing I ran into. So if you start having trouble figuring out why something's not working, it may be because you're trying to wire glitch, Wi-Fi glitch to a Wi-Fi glitch. And you may just need to do the regular wire glitch after that point. Okay. So now that I've explained those two more glitches that I ran into, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at this cleaned up version, okay? So as you can see, I cleared out my test rig over here. And I was going to clean up the back, but I wanted to go ahead and show you the details of it first. So I built a little bridge that we can walk over here. And as you can see, I replaced everything back here exactly as it was before, except a little more efficiently, actually. I figured out a way to shorten the length of time for it to reset by having a shorter amount of conveyor belt length. And one of the reasons why that's important is because I've noticed that when the steel ball runs along the conveyor belt, it spins backwards and ends up taking a little longer than it should to cross over that conveyor belt, even though it goes up pretty quickly through the lifts. So let me show you what I did. All right, we'll just head on up here. First of all, I just extended the conveyor lifts in a forward configuration instead of the way I had it before, which was backing up and back and then forward, okay? So what we can do here, and this took a little finagling, all right, but we can have just a very short length of conveyor belt track, which is necessary anyway, because this is the piece that's powering all these other green pieces here from the manufacturing section. All right, so the one piece that was necessary anyway is the shortest length. That ended up being perfect. And then I found this funnel floor tile plate here. And it actually comes built with this ramp right here. So the ball will drop through this funnel onto this ramp and then proceed as normal. So that shortened the track by quite a bit. The only caveat is that you'll probably need to add some barriers to the area around the funnel in case the steel ball flies off in a weird direction for some reason. This way, it's going to bounce right on in there. And all I did was just add some bookshelves. I didn't even have to rug glitch them or anything. They actually merged quite well together with the conveyor. Let's see if I can jump over there. All right. You'll get stuck in this little hole unless you... there we go. Okay. So as you can see, it's going to come out of this conveyor lift, run along this track, fall right into that funnel. Even if it ends up bouncing up against these bookshelves, and it'll fall right through that funnel hole and on down to where it is now. If you can see the reticle right there, it's sitting at that gate, which is going to be powered by the pressure plates at the front door. Okay. And then everything else I did was pretty much the same as before. The only difference is that I put a Wi-Fi glitched conduit relay here, whatever this thing pylon is called, and put that on a rug, and then just powered everything wired normally as it would be. Okay. So this is the only thing in this back here that's Wi-Fi glitched, plus the pressure plates. All right. Now let me explain this right here. You see two wires right there, and that's because I placed two pressure plates side by side. That way, when you walk up to the front door that you'll see in a moment, you're going to step on either one of the pressure plates. They're going to do exactly the same thing, which is open up the power gate so power can flow underneath. Oh, there's that extra steel ball. I was wondering where it was. All right, this is exactly why I added those bookshelves up there, because I lost the steel ball. I didn't know where it went. I thought it might have flown way out over there, and it ends up being right here. Perfect. Okay, so I'll just grab that. I added another one over there, so we should be ready to roll. Let me make sure it's in place. Yep, it's in place. Okay, as I was saying, along near the front door, there's going to be 2 pressure plates. And that way, if you step on either one, it's going to open up the power flow to this conduit and up to this gate right here, which is going to release this steel ball. Steel ball is going to roll down, hit that power switch right there, which is going to end up causing power to flow on through here and way over to that delayed off switch. All right. Oh, and by the way, now that I've explained everything, as you can see, I started to build a little shed for it. Now that I've explained everything, what I'm going to do is take these stairs down and then just close this whole thing off in a tall little warehouse-like building. So it'll end up, and I pushed it way up against the back boundary of the sanctuary green line there, just in case I wanted to expand the bar out a little bit further. We will still have room for that. Okay. One other thing, though, because the ball has to roll down the track, there is going to be a short delay. So when you approach the front door, you're going to have to wait just a couple of seconds. Then the doors will open, but then you can comfortably walk on through and you should be just fine. All right. Perfect. See, we can just comfortably walk on through and then the doors will close behind us. Okay. And I went ahead and hid the delayed off switch in the wall here. There's the conduit, and just put this little bar man over there because, you know, we just want to get everything out of the way there. Also, I didn't have time to put in a pressure plate on the inside here because I really this video was taking way, way longer than I had originally intended. So I just wanted to get it done. Thanks again for your patience. For now, I'm just going to jump on over here and back down over here. All right, but it's pretty cool. The thing will reset pretty quickly. And one of the things that I would probably do differently if I had a different setup, like if the stairs weren't just perfectly right there in front of me, asking for the pressure plates to be buried underneath them, is that I would have a little bit of a longer hallway, put the pressure plates closer to the beginning of the hallway. You step on them and then you can just walk casually towards the door. And then by the time that you get up to the door, then the steel ball track ball will have rolled down and hit that gate and they will just open right in front of you. Okay, now we're going to take a look at Sheck's version. That's the nickname he suggests for his channel name, the Insane Shecklador. Now, if you've seen his videos, he doesn't like to talk during them. He puts up notes in the video in the form of those stenciled letters, but he said I could narrate his version for our collab video so I can help you guys better follow along because his version is equally complex but equally cool. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so here he's showing you the parts that you'll need to get started, any power source of your choice, a terminal to program the timing of various elements, in this case just the delayed on switch, a NAND logic gate, a pressure plate, or 2 if you want to hook it up to both sides, a conveyor belt left diverter, which has been placed on a rug or a mat. I actually didn't know you could do that. Nice. Interesting. A conveyor belt with a power junction and a tire, which is a junk item found around your settlement and not in the menus, and a laser tripwire from the manufacturing section so it can snap onto the conveyor belt. And as he notes there, it's the one that only transmits power while triggered and doesn't stay on. Then a short bookcase and a power door of your choice. We also have a floor tile and a campfire in case you want to place your end result indoors using the campfire pillar glitch, which he labels there as optional. Now on to the construction. Connect the terminal and the delayed on switch to your power source first so you can program the timing. In this case, he gave it 4 seconds. You could go longer if you want, and your door will stay open longer. We won't need the terminal after that, so you can just store it. Now he's going to set up the sample staging area. Notice he exited workshop mode to move the tire, otherwise you might accidentally scrap it. And he places the tire on the conveyor belt so it blocks the laser tripwire, which in this case will trigger the tripwire and end up providing power, as you'll see. Now this part is interesting. He has left the diverter on a rug and still uses the pillar glitch, so he has more fine-tuned control over where the object lands when he lets it go. I actually made a whole video on combining the rug glitch and the pillar glitch, which I'll link down below. In this case, he doesn't actually place the diverter as it would normally snap onto the conveyor belt in a parallel fashion, and instead manually places it in a perpendicular fashion. The reason for this, as you'll see in the end, is to push the tire back into place. Very clever, I must say. And this is a great example of thinking outside the box, because he's using items beyond their intended purpose for a new purpose altogether. By the way, the setup on the far right there is probably his testing rig. I did the same thing in my cleaned up version. I built an entirely new setup behind the bar while leaving the old one intact so I could check my work, in a manner of speaking. I only disassembled the test rig once the final rig was fully working. Okay, now he powers up the pressure plate to the diverter. You might have seen him use the original wire glitch there, but he's gonna show you later how this can work using the Wi-Fi glitch. He also needed to wire glitch the second pressure plate because a clear path was being blocked by the door. And like the first pressure plate, also hooked up to the diverter. So at this point, both pressure plates are powered and going to the diverter. Remember that the pressure plate is basically a switch gate, so power doesn't flow to the diverter unless someone steps on it. As you can see, the diverter is currently sliding the tire out of the way when the pressure plate is triggered. Okay, now we see the bookcase is basically to hold the logic gate, since it has to be attached to something vertical. It's on rugs, so it can be placed wherever you want, even, like sticking out of another wall or something. Then you're going to hook up the power source to the red node. As you see, he has to wire glitch into place because it's crossing over several barriers. Now it gets a little more tricky. You connect the power source to the tripwire and then connect the tripwire to the red node. I'll explain why in a moment. Now he places a conduit down basically just so he can wire glitch the black node to the delayed on switch. He could have just placed the delayed on switch on a rug and moved the delayed on switch in front of the logic gate to make it easier to connect, and then use the rug to move the delayed switch back into place. But I don't fault him for that or anything. I do superfluous things like that all the time in my videos, and people enjoy pointing it out in the comments. Anyway, from there he hooks the delayed on switch to the power conduit junction of the conveyor belt. He also connects the black node to the power door using the wire glitch. As he tested out here to show you how it's fully functional, how many of you understood the purpose of the logic gate here? If you do, you're definitely an advanced builder, but don't worry if you're not, I'll explain it further in a moment. In any case, stepping on the pressure plate causes the diverter to push the tire out of the laser tripwire beam, which then triggers the door to open. There's a delay from the delayed on switch before it causes the conveyor belt to move the tire back into place, blocking the laser tripwire, which then closes the door. Now, as you can see, Sheck's version is far more complex than mine, but there's not as much of a delay in opening the door as my version, and it resets much quicker because it's not relying on a steel ball rolling through tracks and switches. Both methods work, just different ways of getting there, which I found to be the most interesting part of this collab, and I'm glad we did it this way. Anyway, he's going to show us how to use the campfire pillar glitch to sink the pressure plate into the floor. You may have seen this tip in one of my miscellaneous tips videos. The campfire has a small area inside it that acts like dirt or like a garden plot, so things like the pillar can sink down inside it. You can use that exploit with a pillar or a post to sink things into indoor floor tiles, because sometimes you build things and you want to change it up later and you don't want to deconstruct your entire setup, So this is kind of a way to cope with that situation. The reason I didn't do that in my version is because I put the pressure plate outdoors where you can naturally sink things into the ground, Now, what he did there was to adjust the color settings in the settings menu so he could better see the object's natural boundaries and make a more precise placement just below the surface of the floor tile where the pressure plate is hidden but still works. So keep that in mind, that's a good building tip there. Anyway, you want to get it precise with the pressure plate because if you sink it too far down, then it won't always trigger when you step on it. You want it just barely out of view. Now you notice he has a little trouble here reselecting the pressure plate to hook it up. If you use the Wi-Fi glitch, you can power it up before you sink it into the ground. The only challenge with that is that you have to know very precisely what items it's wired to already. If you pre-Wi-Fi glitch all your items, you may forget what's actually connected to what. So that's why it's a good idea to write up a little electrical sketch like I suggested in the original Wi-Fi video. If not that, then at least keep your testing rig nearby for reference. Okay, so while he's showing off the connections again, which you can always rewind and turn off the sound, I'll go a little into that NAND logic gate. So the NAND logic gate is basically the opposite of the AND logic gate. It's most commonly used with other logic gates. However, you don't necessarily need other logic gates to use the NAND gate if at least one of the wires is hooked directly to power. Instead, what it's going to do is always send power through to the black node output unless all the wires connected to the red node are powered. In this case, we have just two wires connected to the red node. If only one wire connected to the red node is powered, it will send power through to the black node. But if both wires connected to the red node are powered, then it won't send power on through. All right, you get it? Now, since one of the wires goes to the power source, it's always going to be sending power through. But if the other wire also becomes powered, then it will stop transmitting power. Okay? In this case, that second power surge would come from the laser tripwire. But since the laser tripwire is triggered while the tire is in the beam, the logic gate never sends power through. Okay? Does that make sense? Unless the tire is moved. Once the tire is moved, then it sends power on through to the delayed on switch, which then sends power through to the conveyor belt after 4 seconds, which then moves the tire back into the beam, which then cuts off the logic power again. All right, hopefully that makes sense. It's pretty ingenious, actually. Lastly, he's showing us the cleaned up version where he's hidden the rig in a shed and hooked it up to the door elements using the Wi-Fi glitch. you'll see him, just running back and forth to show the mechanics still work, even though it's far away from the end result and hooked up wirelessly. All right, just too cool for school. And there you have it, folks. 2 intriguing methods to create your own hands-free operating system to simulate a motion sensor automatic door that opens, stays open so you can comfortably walk through it, and then closes behind you after a set amount of time. By the way, this can also work with the wooden sliding powered door as well as the large rising garage door. You'll just need to give the large garage door a little more time in the terminal settings because, it moves up slower. Also, you don't have to use a pressure plate. You can also use a laser tripwire. The only reason we both did it with the pressure plate was so that you could hide the pressure plate underground and make it look like it's motion censored, give that a sort of building illusion, so to speak. You wouldn't be able to do that with the laser tripwire since that actually requires, the mechanical effect of tripping the wire, Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks again for your patience. Hope it was worth it. And a special thanks to the insane Shecklador for being part of this collab video. Check out his channel if you haven't already. Like, subscribe, and all that brotherly love. Also, thanks again to all the members of the Student Council for your continued support. We're moving back up closer to that next goal, so head on over there and see what you can do. Every little bit adds up. Until next time, happy building and class dismissed.